Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Ministry of Health announces 128 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, including 124 recoveries. And efforts continue to follow COVID-19 lab tests for residents and citizens of the Wilaya of Matrah. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The Ministry of Health announced the registration of 128 new confirmed cases with coronavirus COVID-19, which brings the total number of registered in the Sultanate to 727, including 124 recoveries and 4 deaths. The Ministry of Health calls upon all to adhere to the isolation procedures by staying in an isolated room with an attached toilet and serving the isolated person from outside the room as instructed. The ministry also advises all citizens and residents to keep on washing hands with water and soap, as well as avoiding touching the face, nose, mouth and eyes, and to follow hygienic habits when coughing and sneezing. The ministry also urges everyone to adhere strictly to social distancing instructions issued by the COVID-19 Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health, as well as staying at home and not to go out unless absolutely necessary. Doctors and medical teams continue to follow COVID-19 lab tests for residents and citizens in the Wilaya of Matrah that was officially segregated as a preventive measure. The people there showed a high level of commitment to preventive measures that are geared towards minimizing the spread of the pandemic and countering its social and economic impacts. The streets of Matrah are empty. All residents have taken shelter in their houses and apartments, observing the instructions and guidelines of the Supreme Committee dealing with the COVID-19 developments. The city hall was converted into an operations center for examining patients. Matrah Health Center is another place where the medical teams and doctors are working relentlessly in combating the pandemic. Meanwhile, doctors are in direct contact with suspected cases of COVID-19 when taking the samples from people who have exhibited symptoms. The Ministry of Manpower approved a number of decisions regarding the suspension of study in colleges of technology due to the current circumstances. The decisions include the following. The final assessment for second semester will be based on assignments which will be handed over during May. Short quizzes or tests will be replaced with assignments or reports which will be submitted by email or e-learning platforms. The ministry decided that the summer vacation for General Foundation Program and Specialization students will start on 8th June 2020 and decided also to cancel the third semester of the current academic year. Muscat Municipality and Oman Technology Fund signed an agreement to launch Ithmar platform to adopt and enable modern technologies so as to serve foodstuff handling in the central market for fruits and vegetables. The platform will organize the work amid importers, wholesalers and beneficiaries, which will reflect smoothly on the circulation of fruits and vegetables in various governorates of the Sultanate. The platform will help reducing unorganized crowding in the market. In the governorate of South Batna, the Department of Consumer Protection in the Wilaya of Barka continues the monitoring campaigns of the market to ensure the stability of the prices, that commodities are in good condition for consumption. The campaign is in line with the efforts exerted to limit the impacts of the coronavirus, and it also includes monitoring the gas cylinder filling factories and stores of foodstuff and supplies. The campaign also aims to monitor the safety procedures taken by workers so as to ensure that commodities in the stores are not expired and safe for human consumption. The efforts exerted by the Consumer Protection Department coincide with the endeavours of the regional municipalities in the governorate in following up the quality of foodstuff meals available in commercial centres. Meanwhile, the sanitisation the public places continue in all wilayas of the governorate of South Al-Batna. Still to come in our news bulletin. At an aquarium in Boston, workers who feed and train Atlantic Harbor seals have been donning masks to avoid the unlikely scenario of unknowingly infecting the animals with the coronavirus.
That was perfect. Our day's gonna be done.
Non-compliance with the directives of the Supreme Committee dealing with coronavirus COVID-19 exposes you to risk and legal action. Stay safe.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Workers in Spain's construction and manufacturing sectors cautiously returned to work today as the daily death toll resumed its downward trend and the new infections fell to the lowest level in 3 weeks. Spain is one of the worst hit countries in the world, and so the daily death rate fell for 3 consecutive days last week, only to rise again yesterday. But today it fell again with 517 deaths in 24 hours, putting the overall death toll at 17,489, with the number of cases now standing at 169,496. Confirmed cases also rose by 3,477 as Spain began reopening parts of its economy after a 2-week economic hibernation period. Although health officials say the outbreak in Spain has peaked, they have urged the population to keep observing a strict national lockdown imposed on March 14th to slow the spread of the virus. At Madrid's Atocha station, commuters took masks from officers at arm's length to avoid getting too close. Masks have been hard to come by in recent weeks, and some commuters said that the handouts put them at ease during the trips to work. Meanwhile, at least 114,539 people have died worldwide from the coronavirus in 193 countries and territories. There have been more than 1,853,300 reported infections since the virus emerged in China in December. The United States has 22,109 deaths, making it the hardest hit country. It also has highest number of reported infections with 557,590 cases. Italy has 19,899 deaths. Spain has 17,489. France has 14,393 and Britain 10,612. Russia has recorded 18,328 coronavirus cases and 148 deaths. China reported 108 new cases, 93 of which were reported from overseas. An oil price rally sparked by an international deal to slash production fizzled out today, with traders doubtful that the move would provide much support to steady coronavirus-ravaged energy markets. Both main contracts rose strongly in early Asian trade shortly after the agreement was announced, but slipped back in the afternoon. OPEC producers, dominated by Saudi Arabia and allied by Rally Russia thrashed out a compromise deal yesterday after Mexico had balked at an earlier agreement struck on Friday. According to Mexican Energy Minister, the video conference summit agreed to a cut of 9.7 million barrels per day from May, down slightly from the 10 million barrels reduction envisioned earlier. Oil markets have been in turmoil for weeks as lockdowns and travel restrictions impose the combat of the virus outbreak batter demand, while the Saudi-Russian row compound the crisis. Benchmark Brent oil prices turned negative today, erasing gains made after major producers agreed record global output cuts, pressured by the concerns that the cuts will not be sufficient to reduce a glut as the coronavirus pandemic hammers demand. U.S. President Donald Trump praised the oil supply deal, saying it would save jobs in the U.S. energy industry. After 4 days of rallying, the OPEC Plus group of oil producers comprising the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Russia and other countries agreed to cut output by 9.7 million barrels per day in May and June, representing about 10% of global supply. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates volunteered to make cuts even deeper than those agreed, which would effectively bring down OPEC plus supply by 12.5 million barrels per day from current levels. The OPEC Plus has also said it wants producers outside the group, such as the United States, Canada, Brazil and Norway, to cut a further 5 million barrels per day. Canada and Norway signaled a willingness to cut. Tornadoes ripped through the southern U.S. state of Mississippi, killing at least 11 people. The tornadoes caused catastrophic damage yesterday. The governor declared a state of emergency to protect the health and safety of Mississippians in response to severe tornadoes and storms hitting across the state. So far, 11 fatalities have been reported. The Storm Prediction Center is expected severe thunderstorms through the night in Mississippi as well as in the neighboring states of Alabama and Georgia. The governor tweeted a message reminding people to cover their nose and mouths and practice social distancing to prevent the spread of coronavirus if they had to go to public storm shelters. Humans can't always recognize each other in face masks, so imagine the confusion that animals in captivity must feel. At the New England Aquarium in Boston, workers who feed the trained Atlantic Harbor seals have been donning masks as a safeguard to avoid the unlikely scenario of unknowingly infecting the animals with coronavirus. Concerns rose last week after a tiger in New York's Bronx Zoo tested positive for the virus. During a recent training session, a handful of passersby reveled in the distraction of watching seals getting their teeth brushed, fed, clap their hands and dance playfully in the water. The brushing serves a very practical purposes because the animals, like humans, can build up a plaque and have gencive on their gum line. Underscoring how intelligent the animals are, one seal even made a vocal attempt to mimic a trainer saying, "How are you?"
How are you? Good, that was perfect.
Are you guys gonna be done?
Okay.
This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Ministry of Health announces 128 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, including 124 recoveries. And efforts continue to follow COVID-19 lab tests for residents and citizens in Wilayah of Matra. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the studios and the newsroom, it's good night.